All right, guys. So, in what really, in my opinion, I'm just gonna be honest here. This is a setback for women's rights. It really is. It really is. There's no other way to describe it, right? We have Laurel Hubbard, a weightlifter, to be the first transgender athlete to compete at the Olympics. And keep in mind, guys, again, this person is transgender. Okay, they were born a man and they transition. This person was setting records before they transitioned. Okay, they were setting records before they transitioned. Okay, when they were, identifying as a man. Okay, and now they're allowing this person to compete in the Olympics with women, biological women. And for whatever reason, people don't see an issue with this. People think that this is fair. And again, guys, my stance on this is very simple. I don't want to discriminate against transgender athletes. I don't. They should compete with other transgender athletes, or you got to compete with your assigned biological sex. It's really that simple. I don't see what's so controversial about that. That really is the sweet spot, in my opinion, that is fair for everybody. Because if they want to compete, they can compete, but they have to compete on an equal playing field like everybody else has to. But now you have women, they're not going to be able to do so. Okay, biological women aren't going to be able to do so because you have somebody that does have some biological advantages. And if you don't think that, then you're not living in the real world. And guys, this issue is super personal to me because my girlfriend is actually a power lifter. She's a weightlifter. Okay, so this is personal. Okay, it really is to a certain extent. Matter of fact, look how excited I was when she got her white light on one of her last bench press attempt when she was destroying everybody in one of her last competitions.
Lights are 3 whites and a blue.
Let's go! Yes! Yes! Yo, let's go! Yes! Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Thank you.
You don't understand how nervous I was. You do not understand. Okay, I was more nervous than you were.
So let's read a little bit more here about Laurel Hubbard. Laurel Hubbard lifted 628 pounds in 2 lifts on the way to qualifying in the women's super heavyweight division for the Tokyo Olympics. That's heavy, but it's nowhere near the figurative weight Hubbard has carried to become the first transgender athlete to compete at an Olympic Games. Hubbard was among 5 weightlifters confirmed in New Zealand's team for Tokyo. At 43, she will also be the oldest weightlifter at the games and will be ranked 4th in the competition on 2nd of August for women 87 kilograms, 192 pounds and over. Hubbard won a silver medal at the 2017 World Championships and gold in the 2019 Pacific Games in Samoa. She competed at the 2018 Commonwealth Games but sustained a serious injury that set back her career. Quote, I am grateful and humbled by the kindness and support that has been given to me by so many New Zealanders. Hubbard said in a statement, when I broke my arm at the Commonwealth Games 3 years ago, I was advised that my sporting career had likely reached its end, but your support, your encouragement, and your aroha love carried me through the darkness. Kudos to Laurel here for persevering, right? The last 18 months has shown us all that there is strength in kinship and community and working towards a common purpose. The manner of the silver firm comes all of you, and it will wear it, and I will wear it with pride. The additional burden Hubbard has to carry is that her efforts have made her a flashpoint in the debate around the fairness of trans athletes competing in women's events. She has faced anger, scorn, and ridicule and has been directly criticized by some opponents. Competing as Gavin Herbert, her birth name, Herbert set national records in junior competition and had a best combined snatch and clean and jerk total of 300 kilograms, 661 pounds. Hubbard transitioned 8 years ago at the age of 35. She has since met all the requirements of the International Olympic Committee's regulations for trans athletes and fair competition. The IOC policy specifies conditions under which those who transition from male to female are eligible to compete in the female category. Among them is that the athlete has declared that her gender identity is female and that declaration cannot be changed for sporting purposes for a minimum of 4 years. The athlete must also demonstrate that her total testosterone level is below a specific measurement for at least 12 months prior to her first competition. Hubbard met those standards. The IOC policy also states the overriding sporting objective is and remains the guarantee of fair competition. Yet, some within the weightlifting community argue the policy does not guarantee fair competition, determining criteria a maximum reading of 10 nanomils per liter of testosterone is at least 5 times more than a biological woman. And also on top of that, right, like, let's take the testosterone part out of it. Right? It's not just about testosterone. That's not just what it's about. It's also about bone structure. It's about leverage. Okay? It's about the ability for the body to carry a certain amount of muscle mass. Okay? There are more factors that have to go along with it than just testosterone. Okay? And these are things that a 35-year-old person, right? When Laurel was identifying as a man, they accumulated these advantages, okay? Bone structures, those advantages, they were biological. They're permanent. That can't be changed. So just because their testosterone levels are lower doesn't mean that advantage goes away, because it doesn't. It doesn't change it. This person clearly has a significant advantage over others. I mean, they was breaking world records before the transition. That should tell you enough that it's not fair. But we're not living in the real world here anymore, guys. We're just not. Belgium's Anna van Bejen, who will likely compete against Hubbard, said the New Zealand's presence was like a bad joke for women competitors. Quote, I am aware that defining a legal frame for transgender participation in the sports is very difficult since there is an infinite variety of situations and that reaching an entirely satisfactory solution from either side of the debate is probably impossible, Van Bilhen has said. However, anyone that has trained weightlifting at high level knows this to be true in their bones. This particular situation is unfair to the sport and to the athletes. Life-changing opportunities are missed for some athletes, medals, and Olympic qualifications, and we are powerless. Of course, this debate is taking place in a broader context of discrimination against transgender people, and that is why the question is never free of ideology. Similar sentiments have been expressed by other athletes and weightlifting officials who claim Hubbard has a natural advantage in terms of physiology and strength. But the New Zealand Olympic Committee Chief Executive Corinne Smith said it's clear Hubbard has met all the criteria to compete in Tokyo. Quote, we acknowledge that the gender identity in sport is highly sensitive and a complex issue requiring a balance between human rights and fairness on the field of play. Smith said, as a New Zealand team, we have a strong culture of manaki, hospitality, and inclusion and respect for all. Again, apparently not for women, not for biological women. So it goes on here to say, just one last thing here. Quote, we are committed to supporting all eligible New Zealand athletes and ensuring their mental and physical well-being along with their high performance needs while preparing for and competing at the Olympic Games are met. All right. So, guys, like I said, man, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. I mean, we're talking about the Olympics here. We're talking about a world level competition, right? I don't understand for the life of me. Why is it that nobody just suggests let transgender people compete among other transgenders? You can't find 5 or 6 competitors, right? You can't find competitors from each country that are transgender that can compete against each other to make it fair. Like, this is the world level. Now, I understand the state argument, okay? I understand when you're talking about individual states in the United States. There are no transgenders living in North Dakota. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of get it. Okay, I still think that they should compete based off their biological sex, but that's neither here nor there. At the world level, there is no excuse not to implement this policy. There's no excuse whatsoever. And that's what blows my mind, because this is ultimately creating more division. All they have to do is just have a competition purely for trans people. That's fair. But for whatever reason, the left, the woke revolutionaries, they don't want to do that. And I know the reason why they don't want to do it, because they're not interested in seeing that. They're not interested in seeing it. And that they will have to support it, and they don't want to support it. They would rather throw them in with the women and cheer and say, oh, look, we're fighting against discrimination and we're, standing up for human rights for trans people, when you're really not. You're doing it at the expense of women, biological women who have worked their tails off to reach an elite level of performance, all for it to be wasted because you have to compete against somebody that has 5 times the more testosterone and that has bigger hands, better leverages, larger bone structures, right? Biological advantages that are only available to men. You have to compete against that. Again, it's disrespectful, and it causes way more harm when it's at the world level, when it's at the Olympic level. Okay, the high school thing is one thing, okay, because that's just high school, okay. But we're talking about world level athletes here. The stakes are increased significantly, right? We're talking about champions of the world, and this is what you have to deal with. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. And again, I don't want to discriminate against transgenders. I want them to just have their own thing. But nobody wants that. Nobody seems to want to suggest that at all. And for the life of me, I don't understand why. Actually, no, I do understand why. But at the same time, that's the real solution. And everybody's saying act like there's no fair solution when there is a fair solution. Let them compete among themselves. That's it. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.